it's absurd to make the argument that alternative energy is too expensive. It's not. It's cheaper. When we started, we put solar panels, on the stadium and all the city buildings and all, and we cut deals for 15 cents a kilowatt. And we thought we were geniuses. We now buy and sell it all day long between 4 and 8 cents. It's a rapidly evolving field, but it is definitely cheaper.
Well, tell us a little bit about your challenges with the utility companies, because they seem to want to prevent rooftop solar to going out to citizens and to have it on commercial buildings. And I was at an event recently with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It opened up at Alta Sea with Terry Tammerman, the former Cal EPA chief under Schwarzenegger. And they put solar up on top of that commercial building down the LA harbor, and it could power 800 homes. And Arnold said during the course of his remarks that if we put solar on every commercial rooftop, we'd have enough solar capacity to power practically the entire state of California. And that's not even talking about residential or other arrays. What are the impediments that the utilities are throwing down to get in the way of that happening?
Understand, it's hard for me not to say these people are just simply evil, But I recognize they're not. I recognize the way we do business it's done in 1-2 year terms. These guys will be out, retired, 5 years. They got 5 years to make their impact so they can get that golden parachute and, live in Jupiter, Florida in a $20 million home. They're racing for that. They really don't care what happens to my grandchildren. And what I mean by that is they just don't think about it. They don't allow themselves to think about it, right? So what do they do to prevent us from doing something about it? I used to be invited to almost every energy conference. One day I'm getting on a plane, I'm the keynote speaker, I get a call, they took me off the program. Sempra Energy was one of the sponsors of the program, and they said, we're not going to sponsor if he shows up. And that has happened consistently now for a couple of years with the energy companies. I understand it. I don't hold back. I also understand that these guys are very good at being able to predict what's going to happen in the oil industry, in the oil market, in the natural gas market, right? They know nothing about solar. They know nothing about hydrogen. They've now become redundant. There's no reason to have them because they don't have any idea how to work with the new energy sources. So they resist it with everything they have, even to the point of infiltrating into these environmental groups, doing these press releases how we're green energy and look what we're doing, we're funding these programs, but they're also creating the agenda. They're suppressing what we're doing.
I think, you see it with the Governor Newsom in that the regulatory agency was kind of allowing or recommending that they kind of limit what rooftop solar can do. And so where do you see that going?
I have one area that is my responsibility. It's Lancaster. That's my only responsibility. And I'm very careful not to get too far out there in regards to state or national, only in the extent of where they come together, Although I do speak a lot, but I don't want to waste my energies. We think that Congress is smart, right? Because the nature of being congressmen. Go there and talk to some of these fools. There ought to be a rule they have to read. They have to be able to read, because I don't think they can.
Well, I think there's just torrents of information, and really to stay up on this, you really have to work at it.
That's true. That's why they get paid to be congressmen.
Right, and they should work at it. Unfortunately, they're not. And they're more interested in getting the new photo op than they are digging into the policy papers that are required. I mean, I've been studying this pretty seriously for the last few years, and I feel like I'm just kind of the neophyte level after having read a bunch of books and talking to 100 of the best people in the field. You know, and I feel like most of them aren't even close to my level, which is probably subpar for where they should be. So.
I'm always shocked when I get calls from people, you know, in government asking me about hydrogen or solar or how to do this stuff. Just how uninformed they are. You know, you know, people got real interested in hydrogen when Biden announced that he was going to give billions of dollars away for it, right? Everybody's trying to get a piece of that pie without any idea of how they're going to use it.
So as far as you're concerned on the IRA Act and the 4 hydrogen hubs that are being created, are you getting or set to get any of that government money, and are they set to invest any of it here?
Yeah, we've got several lobbyists retained. We're, you know, the advantage the city of Lancaster has is, you know, my wife and I have just been incredibly blessed from the law firm. You know, I'm able to put a lot of money into politics, and that's where I direct it. You know, so that we have a voice. So yeah, I think that definitely is going to happen. And also we have a track record. You know, I mean, this has not cost our taxpayers anything. They have saved money in the process, you know.
That's amazing that it didn't cost the taxpayers anything, and I think that's the message that I'd like to see kind of out there in the country is that the template that you've created here in Lancaster, and to use that template for other cities across America and across the planet, is say, here's what we did, this is how we did it, and let's just replicate it, because you went through a lot of trial and error to get to the point where you're at. Tell us a little bit about that story. What was the trials and the errors and the successes?
Well, one of them was we signed, you know, 20-year contracts at 15 cents a kilowatt, thinking we were geniuses. You have to be willing to take risks and recognize that it's a volatile industry, because it's just starting, you know, it's new. You expect that. I don't know if it was luck or if it's just the way that industry is. It's a lot less expensive, you know, it's because it's obvious it should be. It's free. You just got to build the infrastructure. So what does that mean when I say build the infrastructure? You got to build the gas station. Once you build that gas station, it's nothing but profit, right? I mean, that's how it works. That's how a free economy works. The plant that's coming in, it's a $1 billion facility that takes paper, uses plasma torches, cracks the hydrogen out of it. There's then the residues for agricultural products. It's no impact on the environment. Right? When they were talking to me about building it here, you know, I said, okay, but you know, you got to give us something. And they said, what? And I go, and he goes, what's that? I go, that's 5%. He reached out and shook my hand. When that plant is up and running, we will be making 5% of the profits. You know, we're doing that with other industries as well. You know, because we can bring a lot to the table for them. You know, like years ago, 10 years ago, I brought KB Homes together with BYD, and I said, build me a house that's affordable to the middle-class American, that's net zero. It produces all the energy and it stores it. Right? Couldn't be done, they said. I said, well, what would it take you to try? They said, you know, we could do it, but it's not affordable. You can't do it affordably. I go, what would you do? What would it take to get you to try? And we waived all building permit fees, which is about 80 grand. I mean, it's really expensive to build a house. People don't recognize that. And then they said, but how long is it going to take to permit it? And I realized that really was a major concern. And so I looked at my watch and I said, how long do you want it to take? Because that's how it works. You know, the mayor and the city council control building permits. The president doesn't.
Right.
We do. And that is a huge expense. If you tie that money up for 2-3 years, which is what happens in LA County, the profitability just sinks, you know, because you got to pay for that money. You know, that was something I learned. And then I started looking at the other permitting processes when it comes to alternative energy. I found out it was taking 6 months to get solar panels on a rooftop approved. And there were usually 1 or 2 design changes they required, right? So I just sent an email. It will now take 45 minutes. Figure it out.
Right.
They did, you know, and now takes 45 minutes. You can do it over the internet. It's not rocket science if you use a licensed contractor to do it, all right? And then hydrogen will be the same way. Government costs industry just way too much money.